I didn't plan to take this seminar. And there's a couple of reasons I'm doing it. I'm going to tell you why. First reason is that there's a lot of people who just literally beg us to do it because they can't take the time off work to come here. The second reason is that I believe that you have to get information I've read 17 different times before you really learn that information. You need to get that information on an audio level. You need to get it on a video level. You need to get it on a tactile level. So we are going to videotape this. It's going to be done more professionally than we've ever done it before. We're going to do it with 3 cameras. We're going to edit it very carefully. My old buddy Rocco from Key West is going to audio tape it. We're going to have some inserts that go with the videotapes and with the audio tapes. And I'm going to add some other material. That's going to be a product for me. And that product is going to sell for $2,700, the same price as this seminar. There is a special deal for everybody in this room, and that deal is you get it free. All right. However, that's financially free. Now, if you don't do what I tell you to do, which does not involve money, you don't get it. Okay? We all clear on that? And what I'm going to have you do involves writing. One of the biggest things I have found when I'm teaching people to do things is they don't do it. Somehow they think they can understand things without doing it. It's like a man trying to believe that he understands childbirth. Men never really do. I have a friend who is arguably the deadliest man in the world in hand-to-hand combat. He doesn't teach very many people how to fight. He doesn't teach very many people how to fight, but those he does, at the end of the class, he takes them out to biker bars. And they never have to pick any fights. The bikers take care of that. Now, if you learn hand-to-hand fighting from other people, you'll get rewarded with a black belt, and you will learn how to bow, and you'll learn the history of the art and all the courtesies and everything. But for my money, if you have to bet on somebody winning the fight, I'm going to bet on the guy who's been out in the biker bars and who has been kicking ass for the last 3 to 4 years on the line. Now, I'm about to take you into the biker bar of copywriting. Is anybody else in this room responsible for the mailing of 3.5 billion successful sales letters? Well, that means that we're going to do it my way. And doing it my way, we may as well get started right now. So, to begin this seminar, I would like to tell you the following. My name is Gary Halbert. I'm the best copywriter who ever lived. In the next 3 days, I'm going to teach you how to do it. I'm not going to take any prisoners, and I'm not going to take any shit from anybody. Pick up the envelope that's by your table right there. Pick up the pen that goes there. You got some envelopes? This is an envelope. Now, envelopes have a return address on them, and that's where you write your name. I wish you all write your name right there. Anybody need any help with that? And below that, I want you to write Sol Miami Beach Hotel. That's S-O-L. Miami Beach Hotel.
Okay,
3925. Is that right? 3925? Yes. Collins Avenue. Miami Beach, Florida. And the zip, I think, is 33140. Now that should all be written right there. In direct mail, when we talk to professionals, they don't call that the return address. They call it the corner card, just so that you'll know you have just written your corner card. Now this corner card is going to be a little bit unusual because I want you to drop down, and I want you to write kind of in small below there. I want you to write Friday. Writing this already? Friday. And then I want you to write today's date, which is 19/4/1996. And below that, I want you to write the time, which is exactly by my watch, 10:20 a.m. Now, in the middle of the envelope is where we address the envelope. And we're going to address this envelope to someone special. How many of you in the room have a mother that's living? Can I see your hands? How many of you, the rest of you, had a mother at one time? You did not? Do you all remember her name? Anybody can't remember their mother's name? Okay. Then what I want you to do here, we're going to write a letter either to your mother or to the memory of your mother. It doesn't make any difference. I want you to write her name right there. Okay. Now write in care of. Now, do you know how that goes? You go circle / little circle. That means in care of. And then write your name below that. And then write your street address. And then write your city, state, and zip below that. Okay. Now you should have a stamp right there. Take that stamp and put it where the stamp goes, which is in the upper right-hand corner of the envelope. Terry, where are the letters that I did? Are they all in this folder? Mom. I have it here. Never mind. Okay, now, some of you, we're going to write either Dear Mom, or some of you have a special name for your mother, or you did when she was alive. You can use that. I call my mom Mama Joe, so I'd write Dear Mama Joe or Dear Mom. So write that to your salutation, Dear Mom, or whatever. Okay, now we're going to write the first paragraph. There are a lot of ways to write letters, and a lot of them are good. There is no way in 3 days I can teach you every way to write a letter, so I'm going to teach you one very good way, and then we can do offshoots on that. I like to indent my paragraphs 5 spaces. So we are now about to write the first sentence of the first paragraph. So although you're handwriting it, I want you to know that if you were typing it, it would be indented 5 spaces. Now you've all written Dear Mom, so I want you to write, I'm very busy right now. And I don't have time to call. So that's why I'm writing you this letter. That's your first paragraph. I don't always do it, but it's a good idea when you can do it, to make your first paragraph one sentence. That's not a rule, but it's a good idea a lot of times. So now that's one sentence and it's one paragraph. I want you to drop down. I like to put a space between my paragraphs. Makes for eye relief, makes for easy reading. Indent 5 spaces. You know, comma, mom. Not only are you responsible for my very existence, you are also the nourishment that has made my life sparkle, period. Period. Same paragraph, new sentence. I'm under a lot of stress right now. And for some reason, and comma, for some reason, comma, I started thinking about you. Period. Same paragraph, new sentence. Slower. Who said that? Who? Raise your hand. Slower? Okay. I can get down to your level. Okay. What's the last thing you wrote there?
I started thinking about you.
Okay. And it has occurred to me maybe I haven't let you know recently how much I appreciate you and how much I love you. Now, drop down to a new paragraph. Now, most of you have a memory of your mother at a birthday party or when she came to your graduation or baked you a cake. And I want you to not write what I'm about to dictate, but write something personal. The new paragraph I have is, I especially like remembering you in that pink flowered dress you wore at my 15th birthday. Now I want you to write this new paragraph. I especially like remembering you. And you complete it. There's something surely you especially like remembering. New paragraph. Anyway, I'm going to make it a point to see you just as soon as I can. Period. Now we're going to do the salutation. And unless it's a formal letter, salutations go on the lower right. If it's a sales letter, I usually write sincerely, but this is a letter to your mother, so I want you to write love or all my love or whatever. And then write your name or any pet name that your mother has for you.
sign the letter, fold it up. No PS this time. Put it in the envelope. Seal the envelope. Okay. Now, pick up the next envelope. Going to go through that process again. In the corner card, you now know what the corner card is. Write your name. Below that, write Seoul Miami Beach Hotel. $3925 Collins Avenue. Miami Beach, Florida. And the zip is the same, whatever that was. What is it? 33140. Then drop down below that and put Friday, 4/19/96, 10:31 a.m. No matter whether or not you have a special name for your mother this time, I want you to write Dear Mom, and comma. Dear Mom, comma. Actually, we're going to change that. Dear Mom, colon. And put quotes around the word mom. Oh, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. I got ahead of myself. That's for the letter. We've got to address the letter. Address the letter to your mother in care of you at your address and put a stamp on the envelope. I go to the Bahamas every once in a while mentally. Actually, I go there a lot. Okay, now we're going to the letter. Now I want you to write, Dear Mom, no special names, and put quotes around the word mom. Quotes before the first M, quote marks after the second M, and then put a colon instead of a comma. And then we're going to drop down to the first paragraph, which means that if we were typing it, we would indent 5 spaces. If I weren't such a long way from home, comma, I probably wouldn't have the guts to tell you this. Period. But, comma, the following has been true. Ever since I was born. Period. You have made my life a living hell. Every person I know has a mother that is superior to you in every positive way imaginable. New paragraph, 5 spaces. You are nothing more than a wrinkled up old bitch and, comma, as far as I'm concerned, comma, the biggest waste of skin God ever created. Period. Speaking of God, comma, this is a new sentence, same paragraph. Speaking of God, comma, God's supposed to be capitalized. As the Lord knows, comma, Lord is supposed to be capitalized. You're certainly not too mentally swift either. Period. So, comma, just in case your low IQ keeps you from understanding what I am trying to say, comma, let me make it perfectly clear. Dot, dot, dot. Now we're going to write our first subhead. I like to do, now we're going to center this below the paragraphs. I like to make subheads first caps. That means the first letter in the word is capped, and then the first letter in the second word is capped, and so forth. And if we were typing it, I'd like to make it bold. Here's your subhead. Eat, shit, and die. Exclamation point. Good addition. Now we're starting a new paragraph. We're going to indent 5 spaces. Please don't call or write me. Period. I have no inclination whatsoever to communicate with you ever again. Period. Then sign it reluctantly, your son or daughter, whatever it happens to be. Sign your name. We're going to write P.S. P.S. Dad sucks too. Fold those up, put them in the envelope and seal them. Well, she'll get the point. Okay, now if you turn around, you'll see this woman in the red coat with the pretty blue eyes, Audrey. See this woman right there? She's going to show you where the mailbox is. Go mail both those letters. Come back and we'll start the seminar. By the way, if your mother lives with you, do something to make sure she doesn't get the letter. Okay, I can understand that. Just keep it with you. It's just to make a point.
Yeah, hold on. Right, sorry.
Good. Now, I want you to listen up. Sit down and shut up, Gene. You disrupt every seminar I have. There is a reason why I do everything I do, why I will do everything that I do in this seminar. I will not explain that. I will not stop to explain it while I'm doing it, but afterwards, I do want to explain it because I want you to all understand this. Does anybody here think that that was a silly or empty exercise we just did? Okay. Now, I want to drive home some points about that. And I'm going to ask some questions that may seem idiotic, but we need to drive some very fundamental truths home. And I want to tell you why those truths need to be driven home. I don't know if any of you scuba dive, but if you do, you know that it is not a very complicated thing to do. There really is not a lot of things that you have to learn to scuba dive. But the few things that you do have to learn are crucial. Now, one of those things, for example, is that you don't hold your breath when you're scuba diving. Now, here's why. If you don't have scuba equipment on and you dive off a platform down into the water, you'll take a deep breath. And while you're on the surface, your lungs will expand to hold that air. And as you go down, the water pressure will contract your lungs, and they will become smaller and smaller and smaller. As you begin to ascend, your lungs will open up, and when you get to the surface, they will be the same size as they were when you dove in. All is fine. If you are scuba diving and you are underwater already, let's say you're 60 feet down, and you take a breath, you will keep intaking oxygen until your lungs expand to satiety, as you always do, and until they were the same size as they were when you took the breath on the surface, all right? But let's suppose for some reason you decided then to ascend while holding your breath. Now remember, your lungs are already expanded to their full capacity. As you go up, the water pressure decreases, and your lungs, the air expands and expands and expands until your lungs will not expand anymore. So the air goes outside, it goes through your lungs into your bloodstream, forms little bubbles, and it cripples you or paralyzes you for life or kills you. Okay? So let's suppose that I were a scuba instructor and I said, first rule of scuba is never hold your breath. Now let's go on to something else. Well, it could be that one day you'd be underwater and say, wow, I wonder what they're doing up there. It looks like something, they're having a party on the boat. I think I'll get up there and take a deep breath, hold it, and shoot to the surface. You were told that you shouldn't do that, and you got it intellectually. But in this case, it's so important, is it not, that you have sophisticated, complex things. But the more important things that I have to teach you are very simple, because that's where everybody goes bad, is on fundamentals. People do not die scuba diving because they were eaten by sharks, attacked by octopuses, or what have you. You know how they die? They die from holding their breath, or they drown because they run out of air. And my first job here is to make sure that you get the fundamentals right. Now I want to ask a question, the lady in the blue blazer. The love letter that you wrote to your mother, the postage that you put on it, how much was that postage stamp cost? 32 cents. And the oral hygienist over here, the hate letter that you wrote to your mother, how much was the postage? Okay. How much difference in time? This fellow with the ponytail and the blonde hair, what's your name?
Joe.
Joe? How much more time did it take you to address the hate letter as opposed to address the love letter? About the same? Okay. Mike, how much time did it take you, difference in time was there to write the hate letter versus the love letter?
No difference.
No difference at all. I'd like to see a show of hands of those of you who think if your mother really received these letters, that there would be a dramatic difference in response from one letter to the other. Can I see your hands? Do you all believe that? Now, isn't that curious? The postage was the same. The envelope was the same. The amount of work required was the same. The letter shop work, which you did, letter shop, by the way, is the term for folding and inserting the envelope and sealing it, putting the address on and stamping it. It was the same. The only difference is the words on the piece of paper. That's the only difference. And words truly are the most powerful thing in the world. You can use words to wound. You can devastate people with your words. You can use words to encourage and to pump people up. You can use words to make you a fortune. You can use words, and I have done this, that'll cause you to get lawsuits and lose your fortune, okay? But the power is in what you write. Now, there's a lot of people, nobody hardly ever does it anymore because they're afraid to do it with me. But it used to be at my seminars, the first question I would get is, what kind of word processor or computer do you think I should use? And then I'd just go ballistic, you know. And all of these things are technical things, and I'm going to teach you, what I'm going to teach you here is what you really need to know. Now, every year, maybe once or twice or 3 times a year, you should do what you just did. You should handwrite a letter. You should handwrite addresses. You should get peel and stick labels. You should put them on envelopes. You should apply the stamps yourself. You should fold the letters. You should put them in the envelopes. And you should take them to the post office. You know, the last seminar that I did of this nature, in fact, the only other one, and this will be the last one for a long time, I got a letter from a woman by fax as soon as she got off the plane. Or not quite as soon as she got off the plane. Actually, it was when she got back to her office because she had a little bit of delay in going home. And she said, everything you taught us at that seminar came home to me when I went there and those 2 letters to my mom were on my desk. Because it was a reminder. Now, will or will you not remember those letters for the rest of your life? Will you remember them, ma'am? You're mad at me, aren't you? Oh, you're not? Okay. That means I'm a failure because you know every once in a while I get a letter from a subscriber who's upset because I'm not raw enough in my letters. Literally, they are. And I noticed I hadn't been getting enough letters like that complaining, hey, don't you think you're over the edge with your language and blah, blah, blah. So I started publishing my little tacky Mickey Mouse calendar, which has really caught on. It's become famous. You all get the little calendar, right? And I have a girlfriend, an ex-girlfriend in California, and I asked her what she thought of the most recent newsletter. And she said, I didn't read it. She said, I've known you, we've been together in one way or another for more than 10 years, and that's the first newsletter of yours that I didn't read. And I said, why? She said, because I opened it up, and the calendar fell out, and there was this girl holding herself. And I thought, you are over the line, and that's it. You're gone too far. That's it. And I said, thank you, Loretta. Thank you. My God, I hadn't outraged anybody so long. I'm starting to feel like Howard Stern, telling toilet jokes and nobody is objecting. There's actually a point to that because I do not publish the calendar or write the letter to offend anybody. But there is a larger point that you need to understand here, and you need to begin writing some notes now. All right? Here is what contributes to whether or not people remember something. Recency. Everything else being equal, you will remember that which has happened recently. Second thing that contributes to memory is frequency. Everything else being equal, you will remember something that has happened repetitively over and over. The third thing that contributes to memory is vividness. In other words, how impactful it was. Now, had I told you from a professorial standpoint that the words on paper could make a difference, a big difference, it wouldn't have had nearly the vividness of what I just did, would it? And the fact that I made you get up and go drop it in the mail is going to contribute to your remembering it. The fact that it's going to be waiting for you when you get home is going to help you remember it. We are, all of us, exposed. The numbers vary, but the point is the same, to about 1,500, 1,700 sales messages a day, commercial messages. And we don't remember most of them. As a point of survival, we could not. So a lot of times when people are selling something, and someone else is selling something very similar, for example, let's say you're selling washing machines. Granted, there are differences between brands, but basically a washing machine is a washing machine is a washing machine. If I were to write you a letter about a washing machine, how would I make it? What would I want to do? And I would want to make my letter vivid. Not only does it need to be vivid and have impact, as opposed to all the other letters about washing machines that you may happen to get in that period of time. It needs to have impact competitively against every other thing that's competing for your attention in that life, in your life at that period of time. If it doesn't, it's not going to bring back any money for you. If you do not make an impression, if you do not make any impact, then nobody's going to remember your message. It has been suggested to me over the years by some well-meaning people that I tone down my newsletter. And if I had done that, I wouldn't have received as many bitch letters as I have. But also, 60% of my subscribers would not be lifers, and I wouldn't have the renewals that I have. What you want to remember is that you are going after people, the buyers. Now, I believe that you should not attempt to deliberately offend anybody. But almost the first thing you should learn about writing is that almost everybody who writes thinks that they are writing too emotionally. And the truth is, you're not writing emotionally or impactfully enough. What helps, I think, is for you to remember or to have it illustrated for you what we're playing for here, okay? I'm going to use this pad, and I want to see if I can fix it so that everybody can see what I'm about to write here. I want to show you the idea of the difference between getting it right and not getting it right. I'm going to try and dramatize that for you so that you'll really be motivated to understand why you should get what I'm talking to you about. Let's pick a targeted audience. And the audience that I always like to pick is the audience of people who need to lose weight, because that's a very large audience. And not only people who need to lose weight, but who want to lose weight, and people who have evidenced that desire by buying something to help them lose weight. A diet pill, a tummy flattener, low-calorie frozen foods, or what have you. And preferably, they will have purchased such a thing through the mail. All right? Now, I can tell you that if you were to research this through a good list broker, you would find out that there are about 3 million hardcore names of mail-order diet buyers. Now, this illustration, I want to pause for a moment to talk about the difference between associative thinkers and linear thinkers. Neither of them are superior to the other. It's just that they're different, and the world needs both of them. But as much as you can, if you're not already, you need to become an associative thinker. An associative thinker will understand the association from the example I'm going to give you on weight loss to the example on other areas. It's the principle that I'm trying to illustrate here, okay? Now, a linear thinker, I have had seminars and guys stand up and say, you know, I own an orchard and I grow oranges. Explain to me a marketing plan how to sell them. And I do. And the next guy will raise his hand and say, I'm in the orchard business too, but I grow apples. What's that got to do with me? Okay? That's a linear thinker. Computer nerds, for example, are linear thinkers. You need to begin to think associatively. Now, let's say we have 3 million people who have bought something by mail that is related to losing weight. Now, let's suppose that you have something that will help them lose weight. And we're going to make this something, for the purposes of this example, an information product instead of an ingestible. What we're going to do in our minds, let's say that we have gone to the library and gone to a couple of bookstores, and we have gotten 10 or 15 books on how to lose weight. We have extracted all the good ideas from there. We have added our own ideas, and we have created a well-written, really valuable report on how to lose weight that's, say, 60 pages long. Okay? And not only does it extract information from those books. You put in there things that help you lose weight, that you know are real. You make it personal, okay? So now you have a 60-page report. And I can always think better if I make little drawings. And here's our little 60-page report, okay? Now, you do people a favor when you give them crucial information through as many sensory channels as possible. So what you do with this report is you read it into a microphone. And you create, by reading that into the microphone, a little set of 6 cassettes. Like they have little holes in them, okay? And to make a further impact on the person and convince them of what you're doing, you have a videotape that you made. And let's suppose that back in the days when you were overweight yourself, you figured out a way that you thought would help you, and you videotaped it, and you videotaped your progress, and now you weigh what you want to weigh, so now you include a videotape here. Okay? Now, some of you know the answer to the next question better than I do. This is a videotape. Now, let's talk about, and we put all of this in a nice package. Okay, little box, and they open it, and there's the report. It's like this thick, and on top of that are the 6 tapes, and here's the videotape. And we put a nice case in it. Let's talk about how much that cost. Some of you know. Does anybody give me a good guess on how much the 60-page report's going to cost to print? Somebody here must have a clue. Huh? 90 cents? Okay, that might be a little high, but let's make it $1. Anybody in here know anything about audio tapes? How much do you think it would cost to make the 6 audio tapes? $3 a piece, or for all 6?
No, for all 6.
For all 6. Anybody here know what it would cost to do the videotape? $2. Okay. Now, how about the case to put it in? One of these little plastic cases that'll hold everything? Somebody give me a clue? Huh? $2? Okay. Now, that's our fulfillment package cost, right? $1 plus 3 is 4. Plus 2 is 5, plus 2 is 7. We haven't mailed it yet, though. I knew that. I was just checking to see if you catch that. It's $8, right? Okay. Now we have to ship this out to the people. How much is it going to cost us to ship it? Somebody in this room knows approximately. Huh? $3? $3? So what are we at, $11? Okay. And we have a package here of pretty high perceived value, do we not? With a fulfillment cost of $11. Now, I'm looking around. I don't have any of you. I don't see except for Gene Dowell. I don't see any porkers in the room. Have any of you ever had a weight problem at all? Can I see your hand? Weight problem? Okay. Did you have difficulty overcoming that weight problem? Okay. Now, I want to see if you know the answer to that, because maybe you wouldn't. But what do you think a person who is 50 pounds overweight would pay just for a magic pill that would make them at their proper weight for the rest of their life with no negative effects on them? That would be. What do you think a person would pay? Gene, what do you think somebody would pay? How much? Couple hundred? Now remember what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this. This is not true. There is no such thing. But suppose there were one magic pill. You took it once. You would never have a weight problem again. The weight would go away. What do you think?
About 6 months pay.
About 6 months pay. Okay. Anybody else have an opinion of what someone would pay?
Everything they could afford.
You got it. Everything they would afford. They would sell their house, sell their car. If it were true, and they believed it, they'd pay everything. They would. You know, so the point I want to make here, though, is when they decide whether or not to buy this, how much consideration do they give to how much you paid to print the reports and dupe the audio and videotapes? None whatsoever. There's only one thing they care about. Will that work? Okay? Now let us suppose that your letter convinces them that what you have for them will work. All right? And so we price it at $69.95 plus $4 shipping and handling. That's a good price point, by the way. Now we're going to round that off to $74. That's the price. Okay? But price is not profit. So we have to subtract the cost of filling that order. That means we have $63, and I want you to write this term down because it's something you really need to know if you're going to entrepreneur any of these things. CTO. You have $63 contribution to overhead. That's not $63 profit. That's $63 over and above what it cost you to produce that. Now, suppose that the letter you just wrote to your mother, you wrote to her because you loved her and she had a weight problem and you were concerned about her health. And you were writing, say, Mom, I'm down here in Florida or I'm, in San Diego. I've just talked to a doctor. I've discovered a new way to lose weight that really works, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Now, that's this beautiful Reddit here. How much would the postage on that letter cost to mail it? 32 cents. Okay? Would it cost the same as those letters you mailed to your mother, right? How much, let's suppose that letter were 4, 6, 8 pages. What do you think it would cost to print one of those letters? Anybody have a clue? Actually, it's closer to a nickel. One letter. One letter. Yeah, I mean just the printing of the letter. Let's say that the letter that we'll do it to your mom, because your mom wouldn't need it. Like that letter that you just wrote, one page, one side. Let's suppose you had it typed and now you're reproducing it. Okay? Because you're sending it to everybody's mother because, you're the Unabomber and you can't make bombs, all right? The most that would cost you, reproduce, you could Xerox them for 2 cents, right? But we're going to make it a multi-page letter. We're going to say, now this is the postage. This is the printing of the letter. How much do you think the envelope would cost that you just used there? I don't know, but the answer is it doesn't matter really too much, does it? 3 cents. Can we say 3 cents? If the point is, if I come out with a number that anybody wants to challenge, that's fine because we'll adjust it. But let's say it's 3 cents, and to make it easy for your mom, you put in another envelope with the address of the doctor on it. Let's say that costs you 3 cents too. And let's suppose that some of you, being incredibly dense, can't remember who your mother is or where she lived, so you had to go to a mailing list broker and say, I want my mother's name. How much do you think it would cost per name to get her name? A list of mothers, what we're talking about. How much? But I think that's a little high. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're less. Let's make it a dime, okay? $100, $1,000. You could buy names for a nickel a piece, 6 cents a piece, 8 cents, 10 cents, 12 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents. We're going to list them first. And which actually, that's a bad example. It's lost its relevance when I went to the list. Let's say it's a list of people who buy mail order stuff, okay? About 10 cents. Now, this is the postage, this is the letter, this is the 2 envelopes, and this is the name that you're going to mail it to. Now, we also have something called letter shop. And letter shop is all the mechanical things that have to be done to make that letter go out. You have to print, well, not printing, it's not the printing, but it's the folding, it's the inserting, it's the sealing, it's the affixing of a stamp or metering or whatever they do to put the address on the labeling, etc. Does anybody know, can give me an idea of what, Gene, you know what letter shop? Yeah. Gene Dowell, by the way, is one of the best copywriters in the country and an excellent person to know if you're going to be in the direct mail business. You say 15 cents? What if you don't? Make it a dime because it's for easy stuff here, okay? 32, 37, and 3 is 40, 43, 53, 63. That means you could mail those letters for 63 cents a piece. Now let me talk to you about that. For a long time, I have said that I believe that you should always mail first-class mail. I still believe that to be true in most of the cases. But in reality, what I believe 100% is that you should mail letters that look like they're first-class mail. And you can achieve that with a postage meter. And you can get your bulk, what's the lowest bulk rate, Gene? About 15 cents. So you can get this down, you can knock 15 cents off this by mailing bulk rate. Okay? So that goes down to what, 48 cents or something? Can't do it like that. Okay. Now let me tell you what the reality is. This is an example that's not dead on, but I'm going to tell you what the reality is because we only need to be close enough for me to make my points, okay? The reality is that you can mail sales letters for an average of somewhere between 35 cents a letter and 65 cents a letter, day in and day out. Now, when you get down into the low prices, the really 35 cents a letter or something, you're talking about people who mail hundreds of millions of letters, 10 million a month, and they're getting the lowest price on everything. If you're talking about 65 cents, you're probably doing it in low volume or doing something really special with it. But with a good average to think about is it's going to cost you about 50 cents to mail every sales letter you mail. Think of that as a rule of thumb. If it costs a little more, don't worry about it. If it costs a little less, rejoice. But we can think, can we not, about 50 cents to mail that letter to your mother. Okay? In direct mail, as you become versed in it and talk to the people in the business, you will find that everybody talks per thousand. How much does it cost? They don't even say the end of it. and they'll say $50. That means $50 per thousand. And a lot of times they write that per M, capital M. So we're going to start talking in terms per thousand. So if our letter to the people who need to lose weight costs 50 cents a piece, what does it cost, obviously, to mail 1,000 of those? $500. And that is the figure that I use, unless there's something unusual about the mailing I'm doing, to calculate the cost of putting out a mailing. I calculate it $500 a thousand as a rule of thumb. Okay? Now, let's say that the letter that we did to describe our product is really, really good. And remember, we've got a 60-page report, 6 audio cassettes, we've got a videotape. We're selling it for $69.95 plus 4. Let's say that we're mailing it to really core lists. What do you think is a reasonable response that we could expect to get? Not outrageously good, not outrageously bad. What could we get making a mailing like that? 2%? That's a pretty good thing. 2% of 1,000. And please don't think I'm talking down to anybody, because when I make mistakes, I make them on the kindergarten level. That's where everybody makes them, 2% of 1,000 is how much? 20. Now, let's go back over our fulfillment cost. Our fulfillment is $69.95, or our cost is $69.95 plus 4. We're going to round that off to $74, and we deduct what for making the package and shipping it? 11. And that left us with what? 63. Okay. Now, put the 63 out here. Just for the moment, set that aside. Now, after the cost of fulfillment, we have $63 left over, and we had to fill 20 orders. Okay? $1,260. But we spent $500 to get it. Now remember, this is already deducting the cost of product, but we still have to minus the $500. $760 per thousand, right? Now, again, I'm not talking down to you. I would rather be fundamental than have important points missed. How much is that per letter? Profit. No, per one letter. 76 cents profit a letter. $760 profit per thousand, right? You all know what a million is? A million is 1,000 thousands. So if there are 3 million core diet names, it means there are 3,000 thousands. Does it not? Okay. This is what we are making per thousand. And there are 3,000 . Is that right? $2,280,000 profit, not counting what you would make on the back end selling related products, not counting list rental. How far are you away from being able to do that? One letter. That's exactly how far you are away from being to do that. Now, I'm going to teach you how to write that letter. When you walk out of here, you will know how to do that. And I am somebody who really knows how to do that. There have been 600 million of these letters written, mailed so far. And I wrote it in 1968. This, or a very close adaptation to it. And they still mail 30 million of them a year. That's the coat of arms letter. It's 361 words. Think about that.